8 or so things we love about Guardians of the Galaxy inside Epcot.
Yes, it very much exceeded our expectations, and it was an amazing ride. Queue, everything. It was awesome.
So Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is the full name. I think we're shortening that just to Guardians.
Yeah, or Guardians of the Galaxy. It's the only attraction with that name, so let's just call it Guardians of the Galaxy.
Well, other than in California Adventure.
True.
So for Epcot, you're safe. If you're in Walt Disney World on the East Coast, you're fine with just Guardians or Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay, starting things off with number 1, the queue itself is really cool.
Yeah, now if you get Lightning Lane, you bypass the queue, so you may, for your first time, want to maybe say, you know what, I'm going to go on it the first time. I'm going to get in the queue for the queue and be able to go through that so you can experience it. And then my next time, I'm going to buy a Lightning Lane if I want to.
I totally like that strategy. I think that the queue is something that should be seen and appreciated. There are a bunch of Easter eggs in the queue, which we can probably do a whole nother video on that, but a couple that I really love is number 1, there's actually Walt Disney describing Progress City, which is really neat to see. And the second one is Star-Lord, who makes a reference to the old 1980s Epcot. Really funny.
Yeah, so when you're in line to get into the pre-show, there's a video that plays, and it has a couple different sequences to it.
It's called Good Morning Xandar.
Yeah, and they're interviewing people interviewing the Guardians of the Galaxy, and one of them, they're interviewing Chris Pratt, who's Star-Lord, and he remembers or reminisces about him visiting Epcot as a child, and he says, I can't wait to go back to Epcot again. I want to see Horizons. I want to see Ellen's Energy Adventure, all the attractions that are no longer in Epcot.
I went there as a kid, and I mean, I cannot wait to get to go back and ride Horizons. Also want to see the energy, dinosaurs, and of course, hear the veggie fruit. I mean, it's the best.
Okay, well, I'm sure it will be wonderful for you to relive all of those memories.
Really funny. You might miss it if you're not really paying attention. So try not to be on your phone. I get it. We're all kind of buried into our phones these days, which I'm guilty of, but I really love this queue. Has a lot of fun elements, throwback elements, and just lighthearted fun.
Yeah, and it was about 30 minutes for us. We got into the queue, and it was about 30 minutes from start to finish before we got into the actual ride itself.
All right, now let's talk about the ride itself. First, starting things off with that reverse launch.
Yeah, now we didn't watch any videos. We didn't watch any YouTube videos about it. We had no idea. We were telling our friends, almost like a movie, right?
Yes.
Don't tell us what happened in the movie or on the ride. We want to experience it for the first time for ourselves, and we did that. So we had no idea how it worked.
Yes. So that, to me, I think made it even extra special and extra more fun because it was just a brand new experience. We didn't have to.
Yeah, it's an amazing attraction. It is a one of a kind. So going into it and not knowing how it starts or how it progresses or that there's music playing or anything like that is so amazing.
It actually features the first ever reverse launch on a Disney coaster and is one of the largest fully enclosed coasters in the world from Walt Disney Imagineering. The coaster rotates 360 degrees, which I don't necessarily, a lot of people asked us how I felt about the rotation and whether or not bothered me or not. Forgot my relief band before our trip for this particular ride, and it didn't bother me that much. I really didn't notice it.
It's intense. It's an intense ride.
Yeah.
It's got a mixture of, I don't think it's as bad. So if you are prone to motion sickness, a lot of people have said that people who are prone to motion sickness get off of this ride and they're feeling a little queasy. I don't think it's as bad as people said it was.
I think it's more about the G-force, and I think it's more about your equilibrium being a little off than feeling nauseous.
It's a lot going on, right? So you ride this, you usually go on a coaster, and you just kind of on the coaster, and it goes fast and turns, and maybe it goes upside down. This one has a mixture of visuals playing, a unique track that the actual ride is on, and music playing and talking in the background. So there's a lot of sensory overload going on, and I think that has to play into it.
There was a couple of parts where I learned to close my eyes. So right after the visit to the moon, if you close your eyes there, you pretty much can get off feeling pretty okay.
And you'll know what she's talking about when you get on the ride.
There's one last spin that might get you if you're prone to dizziness, but if you just know it's coming, you'll be okay.
Right.
Okay, so the next one is, I like it that you can enjoy this ride even if you're not a huge fans of Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie.
Yeah, it's sometimes these rides that are based on movies that play into the movie, it's hard to get into it because you're not really sure what's going on. It's like almost watching the sequel when you haven't watched the original.
Or some people have, right, or you haven't watched it, or you're maybe not a huge fan, so you maybe stopped at one, and you want to be able to understand it. So some attractions, if they're based in a movie, it can fall flat.
Especially Marvel movies, because not everybody's into Marvel movies.
Right, that's true.
So this ride...
Who are those people?
I don't know. There's quite a few out there, though.
Okay.
But this one is great. So it does a great job of telling jokes that you can laugh at, whether you know who the characters are or their backstories or not. It's not something that you need to have watched the movie to say or understand what's happening.
I agree, and that's what I really loved about it, which leads me to the next one because it kind of has a similar take. It is a ride through space. That's what I wasn't really expecting. I actually thought it was more based on the Guardians than it actually was.
I had no idea what to expect in going through the ride and progressing through. It had, a lot of people talk about Space Mountain need to be updated, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is almost what I would imagine an updated Space Mountain to be.
So before we went on this, a friend of mine said to me, I know you're going to love, I'm really excited for you because I know how much you love Space Mountain. It's one of my favorite rides ever because I love all things space. So I was really excited when he said that. And I set my expectations really high, and then it exceeded it. When we were at the end, when we were getting off, I actually said out loud, poor Space Mountain.
I know. I heard you say poor Space Mountain because you were thinking about, wow, how can you go on? It has the same vibes. It's obviously got different music, and it's way updated. But how can you go on Space Mountain ever again and think to yourself, wow, I should just be on Guardians right now?
Well, it's more about the nostalgia. If you were like me and you really love that nostalgia feel of Space Mountain, you're going to still love it. That back jerking kind of feeling you're going to still get at the OG attraction in Walt Disney World. But this particular one is like a Space Mountain, I want to say, not even 2.0. It's like a 100.0.
It almost had the same vibe, too, where Space Mountain, you're in your own individual rocket ship, right?
It did have that, even though you're not.
Right. These are all attached, but the way that they move and the way that they go through the attraction, it makes you feel like you're in your own kind of rocket ship.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I wasn't so excited about. I did not see any video, but I did see a picture of someone posting themselves on the ride. They had the photo package and they posted it on our Patreon group. And I saw them and I was like, oh, that's kind of a bummer because I actually don't love space rides that you're side by side to someone because I don't feel like you get that true you're all alone feeling. But you get that on this ride, which I thought was the best of both worlds. Because
I take it back. The only video I saw was, I think, Josh D'Amaro.
Oh, you saw that?
And I saw them, I was on Instagram or something. I saw them kind of, it didn't really show the ride, but it showed their expressions like during the ride and after. And I was like, that's so fake. Yeah. That's Disney. It's so fake. They work for Disney. Of course they're going to be like that. But I really felt like that when I got off. I'm not, it takes a lot to impress me. And I got off of Guardians and I was thinking to myself, wow, that is an amazing ride. I
tried to take a reaction video at the end. I thought I pressed record. I did not. My equilibrium was still a little off. I think it is actually still till this day. But so I didn't record it, but I actually had tears rolling down my face. I was laughing so hard. I was so happy. And the best part was there was a mom behind me with her young son. That mom was having the best time of her life. I have never heard such happy screams and her singing like the entire song.
It was fun.
Meanwhile, her son is like, "Is it over?" Like it's scary. I mean, it's intense.
You could tell the mom was like, "I want you to be happy and get off the ride, but please don't stop.
Don't ruin this for me."
There's only 3 attractions that I've ever been on that I got off and I was wowed. It was Velocicoaster, Hagrid's, and this one.
Yeah, and I'm surprised because Disney isn't necessarily super high in the ranking for thrills, other than I think Expedition Everest. I think that's a really fun, fast coaster. Rock and Roller Coaster, again, fun, fast, but this one pushes that envelope that I think I knew Disney had in them, and I'm just so happy that they delivered.
This is a perfect Disney attraction. It's got a story. They tell the story really well. They make the queue entertaining, so you're not really tremendously bored while you're in there and waiting. Right. And the ride itself is not just about how fast it goes.
Yeah.
It's about the story it tells while you're on it, and it's got literal twists and turns in there. and visuals for you to see. It does a great job. I think Disney nailed it with this one.
Well, speaking of visuals, one of my favorite scenes is when you are viewing the moon from outer space. It is unlike anything I've ever experienced in my life. The kids said that it felt like you were weightless.
It also, I like the fact that it's not, there's a giant screen showing something.
Yeah.
But it's not all screen.
It's not.
Like where you surround the Earth and the moon, it's got a 3D visual effect to it without having to wear glasses.
You feel like you're floating in space.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love the fact that it wasn't on a screen either.
We're astronauts now.
Or maybe we are.
I feel official.
Well, hold on. So
Okay.
we've ridden Space Mountain and Guardians of the Galaxy. Are we officially astronauts?
And that intense G-force at the end, for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Next is, obviously, we got to talk about the music.
Yeah, so there's a couple different scenarios of music. There's 6 different songs that play. And I actually Googled this because we got 2 different songs when we were on there. The first one we got was One Way or Another by Blondie, which I thought was fantastic because it's an upbeat song.
Blondie rocks.
Yeah, and the ride itself is upbeat and exciting and fun, and I thought that song matched it perfectly. And the second time we went on, we got Everybody Wants to Rule the World by Tears for Fears, which I thought honestly fell a little flat. It made the ride seem less intense. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't my favorite one.
So I think One Way or Another by Blondie is the perfect fit for this attraction. I think it had the right beat for it. I think it went perfectly with how the coaster rides through space. I agree with you. I didn't feel like it fell flat with that other song, nor did I feel like it was less intense, but it just was. It was weird. It was almost like I needed it because it was my second time around and I was not sure if I should ride again.
It's funny how a song can give you, just hearing something, the ride itself is exactly the same.
Yeah.
Hearing something different makes you have a different feeling about the ride itself.
Like I almost felt like, oh, this is good because maybe like all...
Settled you down a little bit.
Yeah, because the ride is so intense that you're like, all right, maybe I need this. But I still remember kind of burying my face in your
Well, I
shoulder.
remember One Way or Another, you're hearing that song going on. It's upbeat and it's like fast and it's got a high intense beat, so it makes you feel a little bit more adrenaline as you're going through it. The other songs that they have are September by Earth, Wind and Fire, Conga by Gloria Estefan, I Ran So Far Away by Flock of Seagulls, and people have said Disco Inferno by the Tramps is a really intense one as well.
Yeah, I like them. I think I'm partial to all of them. I think that because Blondie, I think, fits so good and so well. But I was saying to you earlier before we started recording, I was like, wait, maybe they're just doing like a beta run here.
Yeah, maybe.
They're just trying to figure out.
I mean, it's a smart strategy because they don't have to change anything but the song to make it a different experience for people.
That's true.
You know, when you go on a different coaster or you go on Space Mountain, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the only experience you get is where you sit in your rocket.
If you
This
go on-
one, the music playing, just by the change of the music or the pace, makes you have a different feeling on the ride.
Well, you do have Alpha and Omega on Space Mountain.
I guess. Yeah, but there's still... I don't think to the average person going on Space Mountain, they can tell the difference.
Oh, yes, they can.
No.
Okay, moving on to the next one, which I believe might be the last. I don't know what number we're on, but the smooth track. I didn't think I was a huge fan of anything smooth because I am a nostalgic person and I love kind of that.
The Matterhorn, Space Mountain, Big
Yeah.
Thunder Mountain feel.
Yes.
Jostling you all around while you're going.
I kind of think that kind of gives you kind of hair on your back, right? It's a badge of honor when you ride those kind of coasters and you get off.
Hair on your back or a chiropractor bill in your mailbox.
Either one, you know, and I do think that is something kind of puts a little bit higher in your ranking when you're done doing it. But I gotta say that this one blended that weightlessness feeling when you're going through space. It needed to be smooth.
And it's not as smooth. Like if you're thinking of smooth roller coasters like Mine Train is a little too smooth. It doesn't give you any real feel. Maybe because it's so short, it doesn't give you a feeling of really going super fast. This one was smooth, but the way that it turned side to side and 360 wise when you're going over those hills, it made you feel like it was flying.
Yeah. I think that that's exactly what I felt. And I think that that's what makes it so incredibly immersive. And if you're a space lover like I am, you're going to absolutely have a blast on this ride.
I'm going to add one thing that I don't normally love indoor roller coasters because I feel like they're a little bit more or less intense than they could be. But I do enjoy the fact that this one's indoors because you go to Disney, you're going to go to Epcot. there's a lot of things you want to do. And if this was outdoors with the weather in Florida, like you may go one time and it may be raining. You may not get the chance to go on it, especially where you have the queue. The way it is, you get a certain time you're allowed to go on.
Yeah.
I didn't think the fact that this was indoors took anything away from it. In fact, I thought it made it better because they have control of the lighting and how you go through the attraction itself.
I 100% agree with you on that. And I think that that's what makes it also going to be up there in ranking with coasters. And I'm so glad Disney delivered. I was worried, because I've heard things about, Tron that's coming up next. I've heard that it's also incredible, but it's a short ride. So I was kind of hoping that and praying that it would be something that you can add to your list and make a fun part of your vacation. I will say that we did get to ride twice, but I do think if you get the opportunity to just ride once, I think that's all you need. That kind of adrenaline feeling.
No way. You need to go on. You go on once. Someone like me who loves Velocicoaster and Hagrid's, you got to go on every time.
Well, no, I mean in a visit.
Oh,
so
yeah.
like if you're in Epcot for the day, I don't think you have to really try to figure out how you can ride it twice in a day. I think once really lasts you the entire day.
Especially too if you get in the morning, it pumps you up for the rest of your day.
That's what I'm saying.
I think this is the second best attraction in all of Orlando, right behind Velocicoaster.
Okay, well, I'm ranking it really high up on my list. I think that it's a must-do. I think you're fine if you are prone to motion sickness. It actually didn't affect me as much as Remy did.
The only thing that I'm confused as to why they would do that is they put stairs right after.
That is a question of the show.
Question of the show. Why did they put stairs that you have to walk up and down, knowing that it's kind of going to get people a little motion sickness?
Maybe some Imagineers are watching you behind the scenes, and that's the chuckle of the day.
That's their jar of sausages that they put in the Tower of Terror. You have to go back and watch another video we talked about for that one.
Yeah, they're just having a good old time watching you try to
Let's
exit.
build this attraction that makes people a little bit woozy, and then let's put some stairs at the end and watch them walk up and down.
Perfect.
There you
Nailed
go.
it.
Right? So question of the show, have you ridden Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind yet? And if so, what did you think? I want you to rank it. Is it the best attraction you've ever been on in Orlando, or where would it rank compared to attractions either in Universal or Disney?
All right, that's going to do it.
And we'll see you next time.